Welcome to Soundproof, where your host, Shari Pine, takes you backstage, down front, and behind the scenes for a look at some of entertainment's hottest musicians, producers, engineers, and other people out there on the scene today. And now, here's your host, that cool chick on a hot mic, Shari Pine.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Soundproof. I am Shari Pine, your host, the cool chick on the hot mic, also the hot chick on the hot mic, but that's enough about me. Today, we have, for our maiden voyage, a guest who is going to break the internet. Not only, actually, I thought it was going to be a music podcast, but it's going to be a patience podcast. We're going to talk about the patience of Job. But seriously, we have a guest on the show today who is a world-class musician. This person has been on Conan O'Brien. They have been on David Letterman. They have toured the world with Shamika Copeland, Grammy-nominated artist. This person has their own CDs on their own label out of France, or maybe not their own label out of France, but definitely a label out of France, but their own CDs. Did I say they have the patience of Job? Yes, they do. Ladies and gentlemen, because there are only just ladies and gentlemen here, correct? Arthur Neilson is with us. Let's talk to Arthur.
Hi.
Oh, Arthur, my goodness, how are you? And I forgot to mention that Arthur has played on my CDs.
Oh, that's right.
Neither here nor there. Arthur, please tell us the shit that we put you through today.
No, it's just, that's what happens with mechanical stuff. You know, there's always some kind of technical things. I've got patience. It's okay.
Oh, Lord.
So.
Arthur, can you please tell us, I gave just a little snippet, but please talk to me about us. Talk to me about us.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about me. No, talk to us about you.
Well, I was born and raised in New York City. Been here my whole life. I've been playing guitar since I was 15. And I fell in love with the blues shortly right after. I've been in love with the guitar since I was born. And shortly after I started playing guitar, I immediately fell in love with playing blues. And I've been playing blues my whole life. I mean, I play other things as well, but that's my passion. I've been working all the clubs in New York City for years and years and years, more than I want to say. And hooked up with Shamika Copeland back in '98. And I've been with her for almost 24 years now. In a couple of months, it'll be 24 years.
Shamika Copeland is the daughter of?
Johnny Clyde Copeland, Texas Twister, famous blues guitarist. And she's got about 9 CDs out. I'm on some of them, not on all of them, but I've toured with her. We've been all over we played all 50 states. We've been, Australia. We've been to Finland. We've been all through Europe, Eastern Europe. She's been nominated many times for Grammys. Her latest CD, Uncivil War, just came out a few months ago, and it was nominated for a Grammy. And
what was the one before that? America's Child.
America's Child, yes. And you have a song called America's Child, don't you?
That's why I was remembering that. Okay.
Yes.
So, what's the name of the CD that's Grammy nominated?
Uncivil War.
Uncivil War. Okay, go on.
And so that one's been nominated. And so I've been still touring with her. I've also lately, in the past 3 years, been touring with an up-and-coming artist named Vanessa Collier. She's a singer sax player, great songwriter, great sax player, great vocalist, great person all around. And she's also in the blues blues genre. She plays blues and funk, a little bit of rock and stuff. So kind of the same circuit as I do with Shamika. And so I've been working with her as well quite a bit. And then I'm always working with bands around town. People are calling me all the time, as you do occasionally, call me for a gig. And people call me, hey, are you working next month? Can you do this? Can you do that? And so I'm always, figuring how I can fit everybody into my schedule, and I love playing. I also play bass guitar. So people call me for bass gigs as well, which I love doing.
You hear that, everybody out there? Bass. You get behind the kit also.
No, not really. I mean, I can keep a beat, but I would never call myself a drummer at all.
Right.
But thank you. Yeah. So, and I guess I just, I love playing. That's my passion. I mean,
Yeah.
while I was sitting here waiting to come online with you, I was sitting here with my acoustic, just keeping myself occupied playing guitar. So that's,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, you didn't go make a sandwich?
no, I didn't make a sound. I just had breakfast a little while ago. So yeah.
Can you speak about the French label?
Yeah, there's a label called Dixie Frog Records.
Dixie Frog, wow.
Dixie Frog, yeah. I don't know where they got the name from. But Papa Chubby, you're familiar with Papa Chubby. He was on that label.
He doesn't like me anymore. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
That's really
Papa Chubby was on that label, and he did a record called New York City Blues. And what he did was he took me and about 5 or 6 other New York City guitar players, and we did a compilation record. We all put on like 3 or 4 of our own songs, and it was called New York City Blues. And he wanted the people in France to hear that there were more people from New York besides him that were in the same genre and that could play blues, and that people would really dig it.
He's very good like that, bringing people together.
Yeah.
And speaking of the blues, again, you're a Blues Hall of Famer. You won a Blues Hall of Fame award.
Yes, yeah. Well, I was inducted into it, what they call
in the
it.
Blues. Tell like backtrack and
Well,
start from the beginning of that.
I got an email from at the time it was run. Do you know Roxy Perry? She's a singer.
I remember her.
Yeah, she sent me an email and said that she was in charge of working there's all these different Blues Hall of Fames. Each city has its own one. And she was in charge of recruiting and finding people that, deserve to be in it, I guess. And she sent me an email, this was quite a few years ago, and said that I was being inducted. And I was just very excited. And I think it was me, Dave Keys, and a couple other people from New York that were at this thing. And we all, they gave me a big plaque with my name on it. It says I'm master artist or whatever in the New York City Blues Hall of Fame. So it's a nice little, it's not the Blues Hall of Fame that Buddy Guy and Muddy Waters are in. That's the big, Blues Foundation thing.
It's the New York.
It's a New York branch kind of thing, which is not.
But it's associated with the Blues Society, right? It's like
this one is not. This one is a separate kind of thing. I really don't know no details on it, but it's not affiliated with the Blues Society and the Blues Foundation.
But it was nice to get the call from Roxy.
Yeah, it's nice, yeah, sure. Every little thing helps. Nice to be associated. But I don't do it for anything like that. I don't even really do it for the money, although I need the money, so I do it for the money. I do it because it's a passion. It's been a passion my whole life. Through this whole pandemic, when we were in lockdown and I couldn't go out, I couldn't gig, I started to feel obsolete. I mean, the only thing that kept me going and kept me sane was being able to pick up a guitar and play. And
right. I mean, you didn't go outside your front like.
My wife and I live right across the street from Prospect Park, so we would take walks in the park. But I couldn't go to gigs. There were no clubs. There were no gigs.
Exactly.
So the thing that kept me sane was playing, and I'm always writing instrumentals, songs, things like that. I have 100 songs that are unfinished. So I have a little home recording studio in my bedroom, just like a multi-track thing, and I recorded like 14 demos. I call them my pandemos.
That's excellent.
That's what kept me sane throughout those lockdown months of nothing.
And when are you going to release pandemos?
I don't know. People say I should just put it out on a CD and sell them at gigs, but I don't know. It's not super professional quality, but it's enough to.
At this day and age, I mean.
I know. Maybe I'll do it. Yeah.
Just get a TikTok and put it on up there. You'll explode.
Was I could. I'm not the biggest businessman, and I don't push myself enough, I guess, So, but.
Well, the passion is in the playing, and we know that.
Yes.
I know it firsthand. You might be a little bit surprised to hear this, but the intro to this show is one of my songs that you played on, Superman, and I think it's got your big famous lick. Producer Nick, are you there? Can you play us a little bit of that just to give us an example so Arthur actually knows what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about there. Yeah.
Well, I don't have it at the moment, but you'll hear it. But you'll hear it in the intro. I promise. I really gave a good edit to it. You'll hear the instrumental.
Right. So thank you. It was just good because it was instrumental. It was Richie Cannata on sax, and your solo, and it was just a great, it didn't have anybody singing on it. It was a great segue into this. So can you speak about your Conan O'Brien shows and your David Letterman shows and how that felt, and what you did to psych yourself up? Or was it just old hat for you and no problem?
It wasn't old hat for me at all. I mean, it's always exciting. We've done lots of TV shows. I mean, we've done a lot of these in Chicago. We've done these like morning shows because for a long time, Shamika was living in Chicago. And so we did a lot of shows in Chicago, TV shows, and we've done Good Morning America here and all that. But to do David Letterman, that was kind of an exciting thing. That's sort of like a badge, you know what I mean?
Did you do it when he had his beard yet, or no?
It was before that, yeah. So, but the thing that everybody talks about, and I'll talk about it as well, is that he liked to keep the studio at 48 degrees. And they told you that before you got there. They said, dress warm because he likes to keep the studio at 48 degrees.
Like the studio audience and the whole stage?
Where you play, where Paul Schaefer set up and where the
Wow, I guess because he heated up so quick.
Well, it is too. I think, number one, he's wearing a suit and a tie. So, and you have all those lights from the stage lighting and all that. So that creates a lot of heat. So he was like, an outgoing order on the, on the other side of he was under the hot lights. We all were, really, I guess. But so it was chilly, but I prefer being cold when I play. Not cold, but I prefer being in a cool room because I sweat easily.
To be able to warm up rather than melt right away.
And he was so, I think you could still see that clip if you go online on YouTube, it's there. But he was so amazed at Shamika and the band. He came off stage. He came from behind his desk and came over to the band to, shake our hands and all that and say, and all he kept saying was, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my." He must have said it about 10 times. Like he was so taken with her. And
wow.
It was really an honor to do that. And the same thing with Conan. Conan O'Brien was just a lot of fun too. Just to do any of those kind of shows, it's great.
I wonder if we could get a clip inserted of that for this broadcast when it goes, because we're going tape to live, so that we can actually stick that in there. That would be really cool.
That would be cool. Yeah. And the Conan one is probably up there as well, but I know the Letterman was up there.
And what are your websites? How can people reach you and all that kind of stuff?
I'm not a big social media guy, but my website is Arthur@ArthurNeilson.com.
That's your email, Arthur@ArthurNeilson.com.
Sorry, yeah, that's my email.
Right.
My website is ArthurNeilson.com.
Right. Now you're on Polydor. You were on the Polydor label with Cyndi Lauper fronting a band that you were in?
Yeah, we had a band called Blue Angel. This is way back in 1980. The band had already been together, and they had kind of a different sound, and they were trying to change the band from a heavier sound to more, at that point, it was like new wave and rockabilly was the big thing, 1980. And I was very much into like still a blues guy, but also rockabilly, rock and roll kind of stuff. And they saw me play at a club in the city called Tracks. It was an old club that used to be up on 72nd Street. And they asked me to join the band. And after a couple of rehearsals and everything, I joined the band. And then we got signed to Polydor Records, which I don't even know if they're around anymore. But and we did one record. Blue Angel was the name of the record. It was just called Blue Angel. And it was a 5-piece band, guitar, bass, drums, and keyboards. And Cindy.
Cyndi Lauper, yeah.
Yeah, and she was nobody at the time. We were all just working clubs in New York. And the record got tremendous critical acclaim, but it never really went anywhere. We toured Europe, we toured the States a bit, for a couple of years, and then what happened was we were signed by the president of the company and the vice president of the company. They were the ones that signed the band, and both of them left the company shortly after the record came out. So once the people
you leave,
then everybody goes, So we eventually left the label, we left our manager, where everything was in turmoil. And then at one point, Cindy wanted her boyfriend to manage the band. And we were kind of like not crazy about that, I think.
Who was the boyfriend?
No names. So anyway, we kind of disbanded in like June of '82. I think it was kind of a mutual agreement. We would all break up. And then she went on and did her solo thing a couple years later. And
right.
You know, so, but I still keep in touch with her. So,
wow.
yeah.
That's wow. I mean, I think that this will be the end of Soundproof because it's all downhill from here with you as a guest.
It was a fun band.
You opened up for the Rolling Stones, isn't that right?
Well, what happened was Shamika's third record was produced by Dr. John, and he played on it as well. And I played on the whole record as well. And he was doing a couple dates where he was
Remind us what hit songs Dr. John had.
Excuse me?
Remind us the hits that he had, because some of our viewers might not even know.
Yeah, Dr. John's biggest hit was Right Place, Wrong Time. He was very into like the New Orleans-y kind of sound. I'm sure he had a half a dozen other hits as well. But if no one knows who he is, they should look up Dr. John because he was great.
Dr. John.
And so he had a slot where he was opening up for the Stones in Chicago. And it was one of those tours where the Stones did like smaller theaters and big, small, big. And this was like a smaller theater and only held maybe like 2,000 people or whatever instead of the big giant stadiums.
Whoa.
And so we had just released that record that he produced and played on. So we did 2 or 3 of the songs from that record with his band in Dr. John's set. So basically I was on stage opening for the Stones. And then after we were done, the Stones came out and I sat in a balcony right over.
And you went, wow, and you shook everybody's hand.
It was wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Didn't one of the Stones just recently die?
Yeah. Charlie Watts, a drummer. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Very sad. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So now there's only 3. Actually, there's only 2 original members in the band. Mick and Keith are really the only originals. Ronnie's been in the band for like 40 years, but Ronnie Wood. But
400 years? What?
40 years.
400 years? What?
He's a replacement for Brian Jones, but he's been in
Ronnie Wood.
Yeah, so.
Didn't those guys used to be in the Faces back with Rod Stewart?
Ronnie Wood was, yes, Ronnie Wood, yeah.
They were all friends. Even Rod Stewart, Ronnie Wood, and then Keith Richards, wasn't he also? No,
Keith was always in the Stones. He might have sat in and played with them on occasion, but he was. Right. But Ronnie Wood was definitely in the band. Yeah.
What a band! What songs!
Oh yeah, great stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you your training as a guitarist, was it classical?
No.
Always blues.
I'm totally self-taught.
Whoa.
I never took any lessons in my life. I took jazz lessons once for about 3 months or so, but basically that was after I already knew how to play. I just learned I picked up a guitar. I got a chord book. I learned how to play some chords, and then I started listening to records.
Isn't it always the way the musicians and the artists with the most passion seem to be self-taught?
I guess, yeah. And then I heard like B.B. King and Albert King, and I had to have an electric guitar. So I started out on acoustic, kind of playing like folkier stuff, finger picking and things like that. And then I heard Albert King and B.B. King, and I just said, that's what I want to do. And so I'd only been playing for about 2 years, and then I bought an electric guitar and started listening to Albert King, B.B. King, Freddie King, Buddy Guy, Otis Rush, Muddy Waters, Elmore James, anybody I could get my hands on, just listen to them. And
speaking of guitar, electric guitar, you have a signature guitar, don't you? Like a shape.
Are you talking about my Elvis Caster?
It's a V shape that nobody else has, or something.
That's not a signature. That's just it's a Gibson Flying V. It says Lucy on the headstock because Albert King had a Flying V named Lucy, so I just named my guitar Lucy after Albert King.
And B.B. King had Lucille, right?
B.B. King had Lucille. Yes.
Well, speaking of that, I had a guitar upon a time, an electric guitar, and you actually you did surgery on my guitar. You actually repair also guitars. You know about the finer
aspect.
What am I trying to say? Yeah. Of what do you call those pickups and
pickup electronics? Yeah. Well, I have lots of guitars. I have over 50 guitars. So if I were to every time something went wrong, bring it in to have it repaired, it could get expensive. So after a while, I just started learning how to do things myself. And, I don't do everything, but if it's just like electronic work or changing the pickup or something small like that, for me, that's not that difficult.
You have a shop, or you do that on premises at your own private place?
Yes. Yeah. In my apartment. Yeah. I just have some tools and stuff. I do things like that.
Can you talk to some of the gearheads out there, wherever you are, about like amps and tube amps and just like your favorite thing to play through and stuff like that?
Well, I'm mostly a Fender guitar and Gibson guitar. You know, there's so many guitar brands out now, but I'm kind of a traditionalist. I like Fender Stratocasters, Fender Telecasters, and then Gibsons. I have like Les Pauls, SG, the Flying V, 335. And I usually prefer tube amps as opposed to more modern solid state or digital amps. Although I've played through some that sound good too, but I'm sort of like a traditionalist. I use a couple of pedals, but I don't really try to go for too much an effect when I play. I use like a little reverb and delay and maybe some tremolo and overdrive, but I don't really go in for fuzz boxes and all crazy stuff. Occasionally, if a song calls for it, I'll use a wah-wah pedal, things like that. But yeah.
Tube amp has a warmer sound. Like, what is that for people that might not know? It's the amp that you plug in your guitar, but in the back, it's got the power is.
Yes. Well, in the old days,
tube, like what is that?
When electronic amps and radios and TVs all came out, they all ran on what they call an electronic tube. And so when guitar amplifiers came out, they all had these tubes in it, and the tubes have to warm up, and they actually react to. So if you play something hard, the tube will react to it. So you actually get like more of a sensitive. It goes by your touch sensitiveness. So if I play harder, the amp will react if it has tubes in it, and if I play softer, it won't. It'll lay back more.
Well, how many tubes does an amp have, and how do you distinguish within amps? Like this is a 50 tube, what?
The amps vary on what kind of tubes you have. What they have is usually they'll have power tubes and preamp tubes, and there's different types of tubes too, depending on whether you have a Fender amp, a Marshall amp, a Vox amp, things like that. So,
whoa.
And then what they've done recently is, they've always made solid state amps, but the problem with solid state amps is that push and pull that I was talking about, the touch sensitiveness, is not there. But now they're making amps they've become so well at modeling amps and making things digital that they can actually recreate the sound of tube amps. And they have all these
like artificial intelligence, like making our pictures for us, making our music for us, making us for us.
Well, they're not making music. These amps don't make music for you, but they recreate the sound of a tube amp without having tubes. And the problem
that's less expensive then, right?
Excuse me?
It'd be less expensive then because tube amps are.
Yeah, tube amps are expensive. Plus, tubes are hard to find. They're expensive, and you have to replace them every year, a couple of years, you have to retube your amp. So
retube your amp. That's kind of a cool saying. Retube your amp. Everything is expensive.
Yes.
Tube amps, my God, meat,
vegetable,
fruit.
I will say this, but let me just say this. Right now, you can buy a guitar and an amp at a really reasonable price, and the quality of stuff these days is amazing for the price. You can buy a decent guitar for like $300-400. You can buy a decent amp for $300-400, and you could be playing. Whereas, back when I first started playing, if you bought a cheap guitar, it was almost unplayable. You had to buy something decent. Now Fender makes really cheap guitars. Gibson makes really cheap guitars. There's all these companies, Yamaha. There's all.
Well, hold on a second. So you're saying that not only is the price point less expensive than before, but the actual quality is still up there?
Yes, yeah.
How are they able to do that and survive the bottom?
Made in Indonesia, I guess, where the labor is cheaper. Made overseas. Most of these guitars are all made overseas. So.
All right. So the guitar that you worked on of mine is a Fender Strat, and it was It was made in Japan. It wasn't made in China, but it was made in Japan.
Japan, China, all those. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not the same thing. Like you might think Japan and China are kind of the same, but they're not.
Right. So, but the quality is equal now. The guitars coming from China are very well made.
I was joking. You're serious? Whoa.
Yes, serious.
Really?
Absolutely. Yes.
What? So American companies will just assemble them over there, or they're literally like made in China?
Well, they have what like Fender does is they have their American models, they have their custom shop models, and they can be like $2,000-$3,000 or more. They have their American models that are, maybe $1,800-$1,900, and then they have guitars made in Mexico that are run maybe around $800 or $900, and then they have a line called Squire guitars, which is Fender's cheaper models, and those are usually made in either Indonesia or China, and they're under $500, and obviously they're not going to be the same quality as something you pay $2,000 for, but they're definitely playable, and you could gig with them.
Do they make any acoustics, or we're talking only electric?
Oh, yes.
What would be the difference between a guitar made in Indonesia and a guitar made in China? Wouldn't that sort of be the same?
They'd probably be about the same, yeah.
Maybe Indonesia would, well.
I think the main difference I find between...
Did I hear Nick laughing just now in the background?
Excuse me?
I thought I heard our producer laughing.
Oh, okay. I think the main difference is that the quality of the wood and the quality of the electronics and everything is going to be better over here. Your necks are not going to warp. The pickups are not going to break down after a year or two. But as far as them building it and playability, they've really done a really good job,
Okay. So I think I see what you mean. All right. So a tier for everybody.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you then, are you planning on going overseas soon, since we're talking about overseas?
Well, right when the lockdown started in March of 2020, we were booked to do a week in Switzerland at a club in Bern, Switzerland. It's a place called Marian's Jazz Club, and we've played there many times before. You play a whole week, and it's cool. We had to cancel because of the whole lockdown and everything.
Right.
Then that gig's been rescheduled a couple times and again canceled. I think now it's tentatively set for March, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. It's not even down on the schedule yet, but there's talk about going there in March. In August, we have a big festival in New Toten, Norway that we've done before.
Oh, wow. That sounds excellent. So when you send your gear, this involves, when you're traveling overseas and stuff. I mean, of course, within the United States, but especially when you're going overseas, you send your gear ahead or along or whatever. But how do you protect that stuff? I mean, you get off your United flight and you're like, my guitar, what do you do?
The only thing we bring are guitars. The drummer might bring cymbals, but the rest of the equipment is all provided for you when you get
by
there.
the club.
We're not traveling with amplifiers or keyboards or drums or any of that stuff. So I take 2 guitars on the road. One I keep in a gig bag that I carry on the plane, and the other one I put in a travel case, and I check that one. And
that's your carry-on? They let that be a carry-on, that shape, that long?
Yeah. It's a small case.
You can't have your purse or your computer if you have your gig bag.
Well, I have my computer bag and my guitar on my back, and that's what I get on the plane with. And then I check my suitcase and my other guitar in a hard shell case. And then all the rest of the equipment, all the amplifiers, we have a backline list of what we all like to use, what kind of amps I like to use.
Yeah.
First choice, second choice, the drummer, what kind of drums he needs, the whole thing, what kind of...
And the club provides all that.
Yeah, and they provide all that. And the same thing in the States here. If a lot of times if we do fly dates, they'll provide all that. We're going to Chicago on Thursday to play at the City Winery.
Nice.
Yeah, so again,
tell them what your backline
all the equipment, and I'll just bring my 2 guitars, and that's it. Yeah. So.
Nice. Yeah. Wow.
And I've been lucky. I've never had any. Well, I shouldn't say never. I had an acoustic guitar. I had a broken headstock from flying.
Oh.
And I actually had one of my Les Pauls. The case got damaged, and it messed up the top of the guitar. But they actually gave me money to fix it, and I got it repaired, and all's good.
Oh, the airline made good on that, or?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's kind of unheard of.
Well, it happens sometimes. Yeah. They tried to hold out as long as they could, but they eventually said,
What do you think about all of these music stores? Like, I mean, I'm not going to keep you, too much longer because you waited so long, while I was loading my computer. What do you think about Manny's and Sam Ash and all of these? Where do people go now to buy
Well, Sam
Your
Ash
instruments.
is still in the city. They're still there on 34th Street. Manny's closed years ago. But you know, this Guitar Center, and there's a bunch of little guitar shops around the city.
Yeah.
There's a place called Carmine Street Guitars. There's a place called 30th Street Guitars, although they're on 27th Street now, but that's the name of the place.
30th Street Guitars used to be near Downtime.
Yes, right across the street. Now they're on.
Is that place still even there anymore? Even?
Excuse me?
Is Downtime still even there?
I don't think so. A lot of clubs have closed. So.
Yes.
But yeah, and there's still a couple of guitar centers around. You know, that's not my favorite place to shop, but if you just need strings or something, you know, that's okay. And
for the longest time, I've been looking for the picks. You know, I got the thumb and I got like one finger, but they usually in a package, they don't sell metal picks anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, or no, plastic. They sell the metal because of the banjo, but it's the plastic ones that I need. So if you see any, pick them up and I'll pay you back.
Did you look online?
I never shop online. Do you?
Sometimes I do, yeah. You know,
I mean, toilet paper, you can't go wrong, but anything else, I would be afraid. I don't want to spend my life sending things back, going to Staples.
You're old-fashioned.
I am. So, where do you see the music scene going as we wrap up and wind down? Now that we're going in and out of lockdowns and
I know. Well, I hope that eventually we'll get out of this, or we'll get to a point where it's stabilized enough that things can reopen on more of a normal base. I mean, I'm sure COVID's never going to go away, just like the flu never goes away. But hopefully, we'll be able to be vaccinated and get enough immunity. But I just hope that eventually it comes back. And you know, so many clubs have closed, but sometimes when clubs close, then gives a chance for somebody else to open a club, you know, or open a new venue or something.
Right. And I thought that New York had come back.
It did to an extent, but I think the people haven't come back yet. People are still afraid to go out. I have a lot of people.
Where are they? They're in their apartments still?
They're still home. A lot of people are afraid to go out to venues and be in a crowded club.
Whoa.
Them, you know, because
are those the same people that are walking their dog in Prospect Park or Central Park?
Probably, yeah. I mean, you know, there's a big difference between walking outside, walking your dog in a park, or you know, as opposed to going to a club with 300 people in it or whatever, you know. Or
that is true.
So I mean, I've known a lot of people that have been triple vaccinated and got COVID.
Right.
So it's still.
I know people that even are triple masked.
Yeah.
It's like Halloween every day.
Yeah. It is, yeah. But
what's next on the horizon for you?
Well, I'll be in Chicago.
Besides Switzerland.
I'll be in Chicago this weekend, and I play with a band called Black Coffee Blues Band. I'll be up in Peekskill and up in Beacon. I'm doing
Black Coffee Blues Band, everybody.
Black Coffee Blues Band, yeah. And it's one of the bands I play with around town. And then on New Year's Day, on New Year's Day, I'll be at the City Winery at the Loft right here in Manhattan.
Oh!
On New Year's Day, January 1st, with the Black Coffee Band, Black Coffee Blues Band, and Papa Chubby is playing with us that night as well in the band. So it should be a fun night.
That is a nice bill.
Yes.
New Year's Day, Arthur Neilson and his Black Coffee Blues Band, along with Papa Chubby at the City Winery. Which location in Manhattan? Because they have two.
It's like 14th Street in the West Side.
Nice.
It's the only one in the city. It used to be downtown on Van Dam Street and 7th Avenue.
Wait, I thought it was on the river. I thought it was the Chelsea Piers it was on.
Yes, yeah, on the West Side. That's what I'm saying, on the West Side. It's like
okay.
14th Street and the West Side there.
Got you.
Building, yeah. Where all the, the Chelsea Piers. Yeah. And that's, at 7:30 show. And that should be great. Yeah, it's always a lot.
That's great. And there are restrictions apply, meaning...
I would imagine the way the things are going now, you have to be vaccinated to get in.
Okay.
And, I'm not sure if you have to wear a mask or not, but I think if you're I think the rule now is if the place has a vaccinated only, you don't need to wear a mask. So, but who knows what it'll be in a couple of weeks, but that's what I believe.
Right.
So, and I think they're vaccinated only at this place, so you have to show proof of vaccine, you know.
Right. And you would have to also bring an ID, or you can just,
I would imagine you have to bring an ID and your either your the New York Excelsior vaccine. Do you have that little thing on your phone there, or shows your
people? They show it on their phone, or they have to have a piece of paper.
Well, if there's a thing called the Excelsior Pass, which is if you're vaccinated, you go online and you apply for this Excelsior Pass, and it's a little app that you put on your phone, and it shows that you've been vaccinated. You can show that, or you can just bring your vaccination paper with it showing that you've been vaccinated to get in. Yeah.
Wow.
And I believe all clubs and restaurants are doing that right now too.
And what about the artists? If you get hired for a gig, do they sort of after the fact ask you, by the way, or they won't even think about hiring somebody for a gig unless you're
in New York? That's a good question. I haven't really played other than the Red Line. I do this jam on Monday nights. They always ask for the vaccine proof when you walk in the door.
On your telephone.
Yeah, whether you're or a piece of or the actual paper.
Yeah, guys, listen to what Arthur just said. Every Monday night, the Big Ed's Blues Jam is back, and it's at Red Line. Is it every Monday night? I thought you were alternating.
Right now, it's every first and third Monday. So the next one will be January 3rd, I think.
So you guys just had a blowout Monday, right?
The next one is this Monday coming up. This Monday, and then it's like every second Monday or something like that. It's
sweet.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll come back every Monday eventually. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Arthur, you have the patience of Job.
Well, thank you, Shari.
We'll get on that podcast next time, Job.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to just wish you a very happy holiday and health and safe travels as you go around on tour. Mm-hmm. And thank you again for this time and times before that you have been so gracious with your time.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. Thanks. It's been fun.
Thank you, Arthur, and God bless you. And